Hello, my friends. Brett Pattison coming at you from the financial capital of the West, the land bountiful. In the year of our Lord 2026, joined by the tall fella. What are we calling you these days, Spencer?
You can call me Spencer.
Hello, Spencer. And the chairman.
How you doing, Brett? Spencer?
Hey, I'm doing great. It's great to have you both with us to talk about something that we talk about every day and that we talk to clients about not every day, but most days, and that is AI, artificial intelligence. Hey, we thought we'd take a step back and do more of an educational podcast because we hear all these terms, and I know you do too. Stacks, tokens, energy, OpenAI, ChatGPT, all this stuff you hear about. But what does it even mean? What does all this even mean? So we're going to take a step back and we're going to explain to you what and how. Jensen Huang calls it a cake, the AI cake, which are different layers of artificial intelligence. What are the risks? What are the rewards? What companies are in each layer? And help our clients understand where their money is in relation to AI.
I think that's great. I met with a client this morning, actually, and I think we've all gotten this question and get it regularly. Well, what AI companies do I own?
Yes.
Yes,
we get that all the time.
Do we own any companies that have AI? And sometimes it's even after going through the companies that we own in their portfolio. And so I think will be super helpful for a lot of clients.
So let's start from the beginning. The first layer of the cake. What does AI need? It needs energy. So as you're looking at that first layer, for anything to run, you have to have energy. That is the core of artificial intelligence. And right now, Brian, I think we saw that 5% of total U.S. energy on the grid right now, AI is using 5% of total energy, and it's supposed to double in the next 4 years to 10%.
That's right.
We hear, why do we need energy for AI? Why is that the core?
Yeah, there's an incredible amount of demand for energy, particularly sourcing from data centers. And we've all kind of heard that term data centers, something that AWS, or part of Amazon, kind of invented that industry about 10 or 15 years ago. And a lot of that compute that's happening in the AI space or the AI stack is happening right in data centers. That's where the compute, that's where all the energy, a lot of the energy demand is right there. Of course, there's other places of energy demand, for example, manufacturing chips like NVIDIA and AMD and others, that requires a lot of energy as well. And energy, we think about it, energy, that's what runs our country. We have to have energy, turn on the lights and power microphones, et cetera, and our computers. And so energy is a critical component of a growing economy.
Go ahead, Spencer.
I was just going to say, just that base layer, and we'll talk about what gets built on that base layer, but that base layer, because of the energy requirements for it, if you look at it on a global scale, very few countries will be involved in the AI boom at a base layer, like being able to create the AI. Now, every country will benefit from it in the sense of get on ChatGPT because they have the internet and stuff, but that base layer separates out so many countries that don't have the energy infrastructure to be able to create the amount of energy needed for the computing power. I think that's the underline, is the computing power required for AI to run is so great. It has to have an enormous amount of energy to run it. And that's why 5% doesn't sound like a lot, but you're talking 350 million people, households, businesses, facilities, manufacturing, and 5% of it already is being used up by AI. I think that's an enormous, much higher percentage than most people would think.
And AI's in its infancy.
Yeah.
So I honestly, when they say it's going to double to 10% by 2030, I kind of laugh at that because every week AI is becoming more advanced, and the more advanced AI goes, the more energy you need. So our infrastructure, and this is what scares people about AI, because they see their own costs going up at home. And so there's a lot of different energy that AI is proposing, or that companies are proposing. There's, of course, the grid that's already in existence. But then there's Microsoft teaming up with Constellation Energy to buy old 3 Mile Island, right? Nuclear. That's why we've seen these nuclear stocks without any revenue move higher. We've talked about it before.
Yeah, not only without any revenue, without a product. I mean, like
they've
got a concept. Yeah, they've got a concept, and the scientists say it'll work and stuff, and they're like, hey, by 2030, we're going to have a product. But yeah, just from an understanding that we're going to need more energy and where it's going to come from. And obviously oil, natural gas. I mean, this country is so rich with natural gas. That's a place. Alternatives will have a place, but that's why everyone is looking to nuclear as the answer.
There's probably 2 countries in the world that actually have the capability from an energy standpoint to take on AI and actually be very productive and grow this industry. And China is actually ahead of us when it comes to energy production. From an environmental standpoint, they continue to build coal plants. In the U.S., we've really slowed that down. In fact, a lot of coal plants have been shut down over the last several years. And but China, their energy capabilities is far superior to the U.S. right now.
So as we talk about energy, and you hear, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, in order for us to succeed in AI, we need to cut the red tape, and that's what the Trump administration has tried to do, and provide tax benefits to be able to build out our grid a little bit more, and nuclear and everything else. But without that base layer of energy, nothing happens. It's gone. Right? AI is gone. So the second layer, which I think is probably more well understood kind of with people.
Between the first layer and the second layer, is that a cream cheese frosting or is that powdered sugar? What's in between those layers?
I like cream cheese powdered sugar combo. My wife makes some. It's unbelievable.
I'm just picturing
picture
the
that as
layer.
this cake.
Yeah,
so the second layer, I don't know what flavor it would be, but this is where your chips and your computing infrastructure. This is the beginning of what's called a data center or a data center. This is the NVIDIA chips, right? So you have the energy. On top of that, you have these plants that are being built that are called data centers. And within those plants, like I'll use for an example, xAI's plant in Memphis, Tennessee. They have 200,000 NVIDIA GPUs all kind of strung together within this data center to process all of the data. Okay, so you have the companies like NVIDIA, AMD, you have Taiwan Semiconductor who makes the chips.
ASML
who makes the Taiwan Semiconductor.
Chip making equipment.
Yeah, chip making equipment. So you have all these companies, but this is where I think NVIDIA, Broadcom, AMD, this is why they've done so well, because they're down that second layer who are making the chips and the technology that rely on the energy to be able to process AI. Okay? What am I missing there?
Well, I think Google and also AWS or Amazon are also in the business of making chips.
Yeah.
And so there's another layer of that, but NVIDIA is the leader for sure.
It's the kingmaker, and you've heard this phrase or this word called token, right? And this is where NVIDIA is light years ahead, because a token, if you hear that phrase in the artificial intelligence world, AI world, that's just a data point. That's a picture. That's just an output.
It's the output.
It's the output, right? So you get this token. Right now, NVIDIA, before they come out with their new chips, they are 30% more efficient than anyone else at creating these tokens. So while AWS and Google are making chips, that's awesome. It's how efficient are the chips in creating tokens, which is the outputs, right? So
In looking at that layer, if we kind of do a parallel to the base layer where you've got Constellation and Dominion and those energy companies, and then your more speculative ones are the nuclear companies. You've got NVIDIA, AMD, TSMC, ASML, Amazon Web Services, all of those. But it's interesting, you do see more speculative names come in there, especially in the data center part where you have companies who haven't built data centers but have bought land and have capital and have gone public with the idea we're going to build data centers but don't have anything yet. And so in each layer, it's interesting. You have the established, and then you have maybe those that are almost there, and then you have the highly speculative. And to watch how all of those react during the market ups and downs that we've seen this year is interesting.
So the hard part in all of this is finding those companies that have the competitive advantage, right? Because there's huge barriers to entry in this. How do you just start a chip plant and make something as efficient at tokens than NVIDIA? You can't, right? So the barriers to entry are pretty high. But that's the second layer, is that chips in the manufacturing kind of plant behind it.
Right. And when you think about NVIDIA, they're actually not manufacturing.
No, designing. They're designing the chips.
They design the chips. That's what Amazon's doing, or AWS. That's what Google's doing with their, I think it's their Tensor. Is it the Tensor chip? Or maybe I got that mixed up with Amazon. But yeah, they're designing the chips. And then you have companies like
TSMC. I mean, TSMC, and don't quote me, isn't it close to 70% of all chips in the world?
Of the high-end chips.
Of the high-end chips
Right.
come from TSMC.
Yeah. And they're building, TSMC is building a plant in Arizona right now.
Several different plants right now across the U.S. That's why getting more factories up and built to keep up with the demand and the competition is so important. But
Intel is also a player in that space. Now, they've been kind of left behind, but Intel is another player that is participating there and trying to catch up with TSMC.
Trying to catch up. And the U.S. government, with their stake in Intel now, trying to help, they consider it from a national defense standpoint of trying to help them accelerate. We'll see if it happens.
Hey, I'm rooting for Intel. I mean, it would be great.
It would be huge. But
Right.
Intel, I mean, the MO has been overpromise, underdeliver for the last probably decade, 15 years, like extended period of time. But their stock has popped significantly on the news.
I'm putting my compliance hat on.
Yeah, we are not recommending any of these companies. We're just talking about
Yep.
what's going on with
This
it.
is for educational purposes.
So you have the first layer, energy, then you've got your frosting, Spencer, and then you've got the second layer, which is the GPUs and the chips and the manufacturing, and that's the first part of the data center. Okay, so that second level, creates the data and the information from AI, but then you have to have somewhere to store the data, and this is the third layer.
Maybe some vanilla pudding in between that and the third
Whatever
layer.
you want, brother. Whatever you want.
Don't you like banana cream?
As long as you don't have
banana
a
cream
pink
pudding.
shirt
We're gonna
on,
go
you can
banana
be
cream.
fine.
Okay.
As long as that pink shirt's on. So you have the third layer, which is also part of the data centers. And this is the cloud. This is AWS. This is Azure, which is Microsoft, AWS, Amazon Web Services. This is cloud. This is Google, right? This is the Google Cloud. This is where all of the data from level 2 is stored. Now, here's some numbers for you I want to throw out. Microsoft in CapEx, so how much they're spending, and almost all of it is on AI, $145 billion for 2026. Alphabet, $185 billion, which is more than double 2025. Amazon, which just reported last week, which shocked everybody, spending $200 billion almost exclusively on this third layer, which is cloud. So why are Microsoft, Alphabet, Amazon putting all this money into cloud mostly? Like, why?
Andy Jassy talked about this in their last quarterly conference call. he feels like there's a window of opportunity right now that if they invest aggressively into this AI spending and data centers, infrastructure, that will give them a long-term opportunity for outsized profits. They believe that by aggressively spending, that they will get a good return on these investments in the future, and also, I think, build a deeper and wider moat around that business. And so I think that's why all of these data center companies, these infrastructure players, that's why they're investing aggressively. I think they feel like there's a window of opportunity right now to invest aggressively to get it, to kind of establish their competitive advantage.
So if 100% agree, if we're in the infancy of AI, which I think we are, and the third layer is the cloud, and those three companies, add Oracle onto that as well as kind of the four big players, then they have to invest in increasing the cloud, right? Otherwise, there's nowhere to put the data that the GPUs are creating. I mean, so their competitive advantage, their moat, like if clients look at their portfolio and they ask if we're invested in it, like look at layer 3.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Heavily. Wait, Brian, let me ask you this, because the way I've kind of envisioned it, just a parallel to look at history, I look at it as kind of the streaming race a little bit. And Netflix became the 800-pound gorilla because they were all capacity subscribers. Do everything that we can to get subscribers. And now, and they reap the benefits from it then, but now they're really reaping the benefits. And when you had Paramount and Disney Plus and all these others come, they were so entrenched, and they had such a wide user base that they could spread their costs across, that no one could attack them. Their stock went down a little bit, but in terms of the business, it continued to just operate so well. Is that similar? That's the way my mind is worked, that by investing now, these companies, that moat, because of the capacity that they're going to have, new guys who come on early on just won't even be able to put a chink in their armor because of the investment that they're making now. Is that the way you see it?
I do, and I think to play on that, or to add further layers to it, I also believe that if you, for example, if you're a customer of AWS, you have all your data stored at AWS. Another player comes along and says, hey, we can do it cheaper than AWS. Let's move your data over. That is such a big lift. That is so difficult to move your data. And so it's I think that gives these cloud players a long-term competitive advantage, because you don't want to have to move your data from AWS to a newer player that's really unproven. And I also think that one of the advantages that these big data center companies have is they have the capital to invest in the infrastructure.
Oh yeah, we talk about the countries that have the capital, the energy to provide it. That's the other thing. How many companies can invest $200 billion? Yeah,
Not a lot.
It's such a small game.
Take your Netflix example, and when we say moat, we're talking competitive advantage. Like that's what a moat is, right? And say Netflix moat is 200 feet deep.
Yeah, ginormous.
You've got Amazon and Google and Azure with Microsoft, and their moat is becoming 2 miles deep because of the spend it takes to compete.
There's just not that many companies that have the capital to invest in these data centers.
Amazon, Google,
Microsoft,
Meta, Microsoft, IronGate, Global Advisors.
Well, look at what Google did yesterday or recently. They just issued a 100-year bond. I mean, how many companies
that oversubscribed?
People
that investors crazy. Oversubscribed. I heard Brett wanted to.
If there's one person that wants a 100-year bond, it's certainly me.
but didn't get in.
Yeah.
But that's an example.
They don't even know the rate on the bond, and it's oversubscribed. Like,
But that's an example. I mean, there's not a lot of companies in the world that can issue a 100-year bond that has the capability, the trust, and the capital to do that. And Google's one of them. I would argue probably Microsoft and Amazon probably have that ability, but there's just not that many.
so if you own any of these companies, right? We talk about risk, and we talk about our process for buying companies is we want a competitive advantage, and knowing where AI is headed in this third layer of data storage in the cloud, like these companies are widening their competitive advantage and deepening their moat. Like, that's a great place to be. I'm not saying buy them now, but if you own them from a risk perspective and they're down a little bit, gosh, you don't even like worry. Just
It's
be
interesting.
patient.
Yeah, it's interesting what's happened though because of AI. That these companies, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, well, maybe not so much Amazon, but Google and Microsoft were considered capital light businesses. And now, because of AI and data centers, they're actually capital intensive businesses.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That
100 billion or 200 billion.
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
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 Huh.
And the return's got to be there, right? Andy Jassy started AWS. I mean, he literally started it.
Yeah.
So the return's got to be there for these companies to have that much CapEx. We'll see that return down the road, but that scares off a lot of people.
I mean,
but,
capital intensive businesses, I mean, they can be a good business if you're getting a good return, right?
100%. And that's an interesting transition, though, because a lot of times Buffett doesn't love capital intensive businesses, right? He's talked about those types of businesses that you have to be just very careful with. And
Right.
so, yeah, that's interesting. And a lot of it, like you talked about, Jassy ran AWS. There has to be a huge level of trust in these executives who are making this decision on the spend. And, will it come to fruition? I would say that the track record of the companies that we own, those executives have a great track record. And so there's a built-in layer of trust. Is there a guarantee? No, definitely not. But there's definitely a track record and trust.
Yep, you have to trust the management. Yep. So to recap, you got energy. On top of that, you got the GPUs, which is the
Cream
start of
cheese
the data centers. And then on top of that, you have the data has to go somewhere, which is in the cloud. That's AWS and those companies we mentioned. But then the fourth layer is probably the one when they think of AI, they think of the most. And that is your OpenAI or your Gemini, your Grok. This is your AI models, right? So you have these AI models which are actually doing the work to create the output, so to speak. So
I think they call it edge computing. I mean, this is where you see the output. This is where you're talking to Gemini or talking to Grok, and it speaks back to you. This is
all of the other stuff that we've talking about. It metaphorically is under the hood, right?
Yes.
And now this is the
That's
stuff.
a
This is
great
the
way to put it.
exterior of the car.
Yep.
Is the ChatGPT? You type in something and you get a response and an answer.
What's the other one? Anthropic would be another one that people have heard about. And I think, again, this is when people, think about the ingenuity of America and what makes America great. When did Anthropic start?
I actually
Less than 5 years ago?
that's a great question. I don't know
ChatGPT,
Anthropic's
like
origination.
OpenAI?
OpenAI is less than 5 years ago.
well.
I think Anthropic is as well.
Yeah.
I forgot the guy's name that started Anthropic, but he came from OpenAI.
Yeah.
So it's only in the last 4 or 5 years.
It's younger.
Yeah,
and
it's-
these are $500, $800 billion, like XAI. These are young companies that are worth hundreds of billions of dollars that employ thousands of people. Like, this is the ingenuity of America that is absolutely incredible.
2021, so right at the 5-year
Yep.
mark, was when it was first
Isn't that crazy?
Modi.
So you've got these AI models, and to better understand these AI models, we have to look at the fifth layer, which people actually use themselves, right? So you have the energy, you have the GPUs, you have the data centers, you have the AI models. On top of the AI model is your ChatGPT. Right, you just type something in ChatGPT, Spencer. So what happened was he typed something in ChatGPT, which is the application. That's what we use. It goes down to OpenAI, which is doing the computing. The data is being stored in the cloud, right? And it goes all the way down to energy. So you just use a little bit of energy, my friend.
We'll try to give it back. Try to give it back some way.
But think about all the applications. ChatGPT is probably the most famous one right now, but Gemini, when you type into Grok, it's think of all the healthcare, right, that will come and use AI. Think of Elon's army of 1 million robots, right? A robot and robotics is application. It's that fifth area. So what we're going to, self-driving cars is that fifth. That's the application
Autonomous
layer.
Vehicles, self-driving. Yeah, that's
robo-advisors. Eli Lilly using it for looking for drugs.
R&D,
Boston Dynamics
yes,
and their robots.
everything.
That's exactly Salesforce or ServiceNow or any of these companies that are using it within their platforms to try to improve efficiency and ultimately improve people's lives.
This is this fifth layer is the one that's changing the most. Every week it's changing as new applications or better applications are being built. We talked about on our podcast that, hey, the software world of investing is very murky right now. Why? Because this fifth layer is changing so rapidly because of the advancements in all the layers underneath it, right? So this is the hardest one to invest in. And frankly, you almost have to, if you do take any positions, you take them very small because there's so much risk in this fifth layer because it's changing so fast.
You think about all the apps on your phone right now. I saw some commentary recently that that's up for grabs right now. You think that some AI application can go out and just replicate your weight loss app, tracking your calories, or fitness app, or there's all kinds of things that would it seems like AI would be very good at just recreating,
just duplicating.
Right.
I mean, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
All of those, and that goes to the software, but like you said, any of those things on that top layer are incredibly fragile right now, with an understanding that AI, whether it's Claude or Grok or whoever, can go in and what took months or years ago to create, AI you could vibe code it with AI over a weekend,
right,
and potentially have the same product. People would argue that that's, there's security and other stuff, and there is, but man, the fact it's gotten that so quickly, presents a huge amount of risk to companies on that top. The base isn't falling over, the second layer isn't falling over, the third layer over, but that fourth and fifth layer, it's up there, and it could fall over pretty quickly unless you had a really thick graham cracker crust kind of including.
Which is hard. That's why if you're going to invest in AI, you got to look at what has a clear competitive advantage. And I feel like our investments in AI in client portfolios have that, and are actually they're getting bigger, the competitive advantages. But gosh, what a time to be alive, Spencer.
Pretty amazing. And it's interesting, some of them are at multiple layers, right? Like, for example, Amazon, they're or Alphabet, right? They are on that second layer, but then the underlying is lower and lower as well. So they've got exposure to multiple layers of that stack.
Yep, you've got Gemini, which is the AI model. You've got them in the cloud service as well, and the second layer, which is the chips, right? So to their advantage, Tesla's another one, right? They've got XAI, they've got the data center. they can't replace NVIDIA, but they've got the data center. They don't have the cloud, but they have the application and the AI model. Like some of these companies that are in multiple layers, yeah, that makes sense. Companies that are in one, I don't know.
You better be down on the bottom of the cake.
Be on the bottom of the cake.
The most vulnerable is that, the last couple layers of that cake are probably the most vulnerable. If you're on the stack, on the first part of the stack or the layer, probably a little bit more secure.
Well, it's the ones on the top that could get eaten first.
Yeah, that's right.
Good. We love Spencer. Anyway, so to recap, energy, first layer. Without energy, none of it happens. Second layer is your NVIDIAs of the world. That's your kind of the first part of the data center, the chips and infrastructure. Thank you. The third layer would be your cloud infrastructure where the data is stored. The fourth layer, your model. Like what's doing the calculations essentially.
I think the term is the reasoning engines that I've heard
right.
you say
Large
before.
language models.
Yeah.
I don't really. I mean, I love the output of the large language models, but if you think about what's been happening, they all leapfrog each other. OpenAI will come out with something really cool, or Anthropic, and then Gemini just outdoes them and does a little better.
Perplexity is another one. I've downloaded so many new apps on my phone every time just to try different ones, and then right when I download it, I get told Gemini's taking the lead.
That's
I'm
right.
like, I can't even keep up.
I think you just find one you like and you just stick with it.
But the one thing that people are most familiar with is the application, which is the fifth layer, which uses all four layers and gets the information that ultimately you're after. So that is AI in a nutshell. So if you look at your portfolio, try to determine which layer of the cake you're invested in and whether that has a good risk-reward profile for AI. Gosh, I've said it again. What a world to live in right now. And how great is it that all this comes and starts in the United States of America? I'm going to start singing the national anthem right now.
I'm going to call you Professor Pattison for this one. This was very good educational. I think this was good, Professor. Great job.
Well, thank you. Don't call me a professor, though.
Why not? I didn't realize. Come on, Professor Pattison. It's great. I want to hand my homework in tomorrow.
All right. Until next time, my friends. Bye now.